The LG V30, in typical LG fashion, is a great phone that practically no one is paying attention to. The iPhone X is also a pretty great phone, and it's gotten a little bit of attention. Hey there, friends on YouTube. My name's Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. Tech so honest it hurts. If this is your first time here, perhaps after this you will consider subscribing to the channel with the subscribe button and the belling and the blah 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 blah. And if any of this content resonates with you, perhaps you will favor me with a thumbs up. First, let's get this out of the way. The V30 is a phone that was created with a certain kind of user, the content creator, the music appreciator, in mind. The back cameras go into a level of depth and flexibility that no other smartphone really does. I mean, you can shoot in log mode, you can shoot in cine-style presets. The manual mode goes like levels and levels and levels deep. And then there's the quad DAC and amp with the headphone jack. It makes for some really honestly incredible listening experiences. The iPhone X, on the other hand, is a phone that's built for everyone to be able to use and enjoy without much digging around or trouble at all. It takes great photos, but it doesn't really do, it has tricks. It's got emojis and portrait mode and all that kind of stuff, but the camera app itself is pretty basic, kind of idiot-proof, good for old people. The audio experience on the iPhone X, however, well, let's just stick a pin in that. Let's just stick a pin. The question is, can two phones that are built so differently, with such different philosophies behind them, really be compared? Why not? Let's do it. I'm going to go through the pluses and the minuses of the iPhone X. Incredible design and build. It's a beautiful phone. It suggests designs of the past while taking the phone in a decidedly new direction. I was a little concerned about what Apple was doing with the iPhone X before it came out. You might have seen some of the videos where I sort of said the sky was falling and ran around like a Chicken Little. Since then, I've been converted into a believer in the iPhone X experience. The viewing experience on the iPhone X is great. It's the first iPhone with the OLED panel. We've heard all about it. Apple was able to tune it to be sharper than their previous displays, but retain the great color accuracy and vibrancy that we've come to expect from Retina displays. Yes, there's the notch. But for me, after nearly a month of using it, I can pretty much say it's a non-issue for me. It'd be better if it wasn't there, but it's also kind of a design thing. Whatever. Face ID works great. It really changes the way you use the phone. I especially love the way Face ID helps out when you're authenticating apps and logging into things and all that kind of stuff, and you don't have to, nothing, it just happens. It's really a lot better than I ever thought it would be, and it only is going to get better from here on out. Audio is both a positive and a negative for the iPhone X. It has stereo speakers, that's good, and they sound pretty good. But since they removed the headphone jack from their devices, Apple, no longer the kings of mobile audio. They threw away their legacy of great audio delivery. They threw it right in the trash, right along with that headphone jack. iPod is what brought digital music to the masses. It changed the way that we listen to and experience music, for better or worse. Maybe there's a video in that. You could argue that they're doing the same thing again by forcing customers into the wireless future, the great beyond. But wireless headphones are convenient, yes. You literally have to spend hundreds of dollars to get anywhere close to the same quality listening experience that you could get for a third of the price in wired headphones. This is, in my mind, 2 steps backward to go 1 step forward. If you're Apple, though, you make money selling a lot more headphones. And so that's, we say convenient, yeah? Another con for me is kind of the size of the iPhone X. I've gotten used to it, and it feels pretty comfortable, but it was a little small for me at the beginning. I like bigger phones. And even though the screen on the iPhone X is listed at 5.8 inches on the diagonal, it's often more like the iPhone 8's 4.7 inches in some apps because some people just haven't updated to the full screen yet. And then when you watch videos, if you want to see everything and not have the head cut off and bottom cut off and all that, then you have to pillar box the screen, and that's not good. My final con swings back around to the first Pro. While I like the design and the materials and everything is all very premium on my iPhone X, by noon on day one, I had scratched it. And it sucks to spend that much money on a phone and then have it scratched so quickly. Of course, sometimes great build and design comes with the trade-off of increased fragility. It sucks. I've learned to live with it.
As such. Well, the interesting thing is that we get critics who have...
There are a lot of great cases out there. I have cases coming in for review. We'll talk more about them. They protect your investment. But immediately covering up a phone like this one is like driving a Porsche and always having that like vinyl front fender bumper bra thing on. In many ways, the V30 ticks a lot of the boxes that the iPhone falls down on. First and foremost, for me, is the attention paid to the audio reproduction. The quad DAC and amp inside the V30 is truly something you have to hear to understand why it's such a big deal. This phone's headphone jack is better than any other phone on the market. It sounds better by such a large margin that even phones that still have headphone jacks, like the Note 8 and others, don't even play on the same level. I've done A/B tests going back and forth from the V30 to just about every other phone that came out this year, and no other phone comes close. With or without a headphone jack, the V30 crushes them all. Not close. The build on the V30 is pretty nice too. It's bezel-less like all of our phones in the 2017s. It's got a little top space, got a little bomb space. Black version, you can almost not even see that those little spaces are there at the top and bottom, almost imperceptible when the screen is off. And when it's on, it feels very balanced, this screen. There's the notch is not there. It's a good thing. It also has a glass back. That's probably too slick, if anything. I mean, you could always slap a D-brand skin on it.
Elliot,
Larry!
Larry, you can't just... Oh,
Larry! Oh, are you alright? How did...
Larry!
But with the two V30s I've tried, I haven't seen the slightest blemish on the glass. I don't know, honestly, how they do it. That's saying something when you compare it to the scratchability of the iPhone X. The phone also has a stainless steel rim around the edge, just like the iPhone. The curves, maybe a little bit more pronounced than the iPhones. Now we switch to the con side. We have a little good, we have some bad. The V30 has a very large 6-inch display, and it really is pretty nice as long as you're looking at it straight on. It's notchless. It's OLED as well. But just like the Pixel 2 XL, which has an LG OLED display in it, the V30 suffers from that dreaded off-axis blue shift. It wasn't that bad on the first V30 I had, but when I picked up the V30 Plus, the shift was just as bad as the Pixel 2 XL, and that's a freaking shame. The other con is LG uses, the skin on their phone. The app drawer is not there out of the box. I don't know what they're trying to do. Make the phone more iPhone-like? It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, when I go to an Android phone, I prefer the clean, open spaces of an Android home screen so I can customize the way that I want, or not. You can go into the settings and get the app drawer back, but it's a pain in the butt. And it's just one of the many annoyances I have with the LG skin. Of course, this being Android, you can apply whatever launcher you want. The launcher of your choice. Just anything. Different icons, and then you're good. And it's not like you have an LG phone at all. Other manufacturers, they have really improved their tweaks to Android over the years, but LG's remains unrefined and clunky. I just don't get it. Finally, I have to talk about what the V series lost between Gen 2 and 3. Secondary display. It's always a little bit half-baked, but the shortcuts up there, if the info that you could get without waking up the phone by just using that always-on display, it always ended up being a bonus for me, a pleasure. I might not have always taken advantage of it, but when I did, I was glad it was there. Now, LG has kept pretty much all the functionality that was available on that display with the always-on display and the floating bar inside the operating system, but I find myself rarely using those, and it just wasn't the same. The same goes for losing the replaceable battery, although I understand that losing that allows for water resistance and this overall kind of sexier design and everything like that. But for me, the V series was first branded and is still somewhat branded as a creator's tool, and battery flexibility was a big part of that package. Yes, we've got fast charging, but This makes the phone less targeted and less unique. One saving grace here is that the V30's battery life is the best I've ever experienced on an LG phone. It's got a 3300 milliamp hour battery, and most of the time, almost always, it got me through the day. And the DAC and amp didn't seem to affect battery life at all, which was not the case on the previous V-series phones. Okay, finally, I have to say that while the back camera, as we discussed before, is really pretty awesome, the front 5 megapixel camera is awful. I don't understand. LG cheaped out on the front camera. 5 megapixels. I mean, it just looks terrible. And it makes no sense to go to all that trouble and then cut a corner over on the front camera. It's supposed to be about the cameras, right? And that's kind of the V30 in a nutshell. Too many compromises. What it does great, it does as well or better than any other phone out there. But where it falls short, I mean, it just really falls on its face. So where does this leave us in our comparison of the iPhone X and the LG V30? I mean, it's hard to say one's better than the other since they are kind of polar opposites of one another in some ways. But if you go down this list of pros and cons just to see what stacks up as pro and con for each, LG's got a few more demerits in there in the key areas when compared to the iPhone X or really any other flagship phone. The screen and that front-facing camera, no good. When it comes to being head-to-head with the iPhone X, the iPhone X comes out on top. I say that with one huge caveat though. If you are a music lover and you listen to a lot of music on your phone, just go get the V30 or the V30 Plus and hope you get one with a decent screen. No other phone can rival the quality of the sound that you get out of the V30. It's so much better in the audio that none of its shortcomings are really enough to turn the audio lover away. For the rest of you who want a pretty phone that does phone things and does them well with a great design and maybe a little bit of that collar poppin' cachet, well, the iPhone X wins. You tell me what you think. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Anything I didn't mention here that you might think would sway a buyer one way or the other? Anything at all? I think if you smoosh these two phones together, you could get the perfect phone. But I don't think we're ever going to see the perfect phone. The perfect phone doesn't exist, and I think that's the way it's supposed to be, what they want to have happen, because otherwise, what would people like me and you have to talk about on YouTube? Thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you are brand new to the channel, again, consider subscribing because, you know, it's all the cool kids are doing it. A like is always nice too. My name's Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. Tech, so honest it hurts. Until the next time, I'm out.